Since the fall of the Assad regime and his complete disappearance from the scene, the media, both globally and in the Arab world, has been intensely interested in any information about him, such as his whereabouts, how he spends his time, and other related matters. There was a report a few days ago claiming that Assad was taking courses to review his ophthalmology background, which is his original field of study, and that he was considering returning to practice. Today, a new report, this one from the New York Times, provides a detailed investigation into the living conditions of Assad, his family, and 55 senior officials and officers who fled Syria. Since the regime's collapse, Syrians have been searching for information about them and their whereabouts in order to hold them accountable and bring them to justice. Let's start with Assad, whom the New York Times confirms is living a life of emptiness entirely in Moscow. The newspaper's report reveals that Assad, his family, and his brother Maher, upon their arrival in Moscow from Syria, stayed in luxurious apartments belonging to the Four Seasons Hotel, where a week's stay costs approximately $13,000. After that, he moved to a two-story penthouse in Van Distor, and this tower is in the famous Sexy restaurant, the favorite restaurant of the Lion. Then the Lion and his family moved to live in a villa in a compound in western Moscow. This is a very upscale area with private security, and the elite live there. The compound is not secure, and according to the New York Times, Russian security services are present in the compound to provide special protection for the Lion for surveillance. Also, authorities in Moscow prevented him from appearing in the media and making any statements. When his son appeared in a video last February, walking around Moscow, the authorities took security measures regarding the matter to investigate. The new revelation also revealed that in November, the Lion invited a number of his friends, officials, or Zayn's daughter's birthday party at the villa, and according to eyewitnesses, the party was very extravagant. Zayn al-Hassan graduated this year from the Moscow State Institute of International Relations, and her family witnessed her graduation for the first time since the fall of the regime. Bashar al-Assad himself did not appear, while Maher al-Assad had a video circulating of him sitting in a cafe in one of the shopping malls in Moscow, and this was his first appearance.
The New York Times also says that Bashar al-Assad abandoned his aides who fled with him, unlike Maher's brother, who continued to send money to his aides and employees and continued to help them. It is said that Maher helped those who worked with him and fled to open new life projects, whether in Russia or Lebanon. As for Bashar al-Assad, those who fled with him were staying at the Four Seasons Hotel, just like before. He refused to even pay their exorbitant bills, and when they tried to contact him, he wouldn't respond. So the Russian authorities moved them to another location, reminiscent of the Soviet era, along with other regime officers. This information comes from a report discussing senior officials and officers who perpetrated atrocities against the Syrian people and disappeared after the regime's fall. In fact, all Syrians are wondering where they are and how they left Syria. The newspaper compiled a list of them, categorizing those who were arrested, those who died, those who were unknown, and those who weren't even with the regime. According to the New York Times, all those living in Moscow are living luxurious lives. Ali Mamluk, the director of the National Security Bureau, who oversaw all arrests and torture in Syrian intelligence branches, is reportedly living in a Moscow apartment at Russia's expense. The newspaper claims he meets with or receives former Defense Minister Ali Abbas and Chief of Staff Abdul Karim Ibrahim, both accused of torturing detainees and committing sexual violence. These men were seen shopping in a luxury mall in Moscow. Kifaf Melhem, head of the Military Intelligence Directorate, lives in a large villa in Moscow, along with Ghassan Ismail, head of the Second Intelligence Branch, which oversaw the torture and arrest of Syrian protesters. Kifaf Melhem was among the officials the newspaper was able to contact. He stated that the violations and crimes committed by the Assad regime pale in comparison to the crimes committed by Syria's new leaders, and that all the cases of torture and executions reported from Saidnaya prison are insignificant. More than one official was seen in Moscow, such as Jamil Hassan, director of the Air Force Intelligence Directorate. It is said that Russia transported him and other officers from Hamimim Airport in Latakia to Moscow.
Ghassan Bilal, one of the most important figures in the drug empire built by Maher al-Assad and director of the security office in the 4th Division, which is under Maher al-Assad's control, is also in Moscow. Jamal Yunus, the former commander of a military unit affiliated with the 4th Division, who was notorious for violent repression, was also seen in Moscow on a scooter. Luai al-Ali, Kahtan Khalil, and Suhail al-Hassan are also in Moscow, according to the newspaper. Now, let's talk about the former officials who are still in Syria and haven't been arrested by the new regime. There's Issam Halak, who oversaw the airstrikes. The New York Times reports he's hiding in his Damascus apartment, suffering from extreme poverty. Omar al-Armanazi, the former director of the Syrian chemical weapons program, is also in Syria and living comfortably, unlike others. Taher Khalil, who headed the Artillery and Missile Administration, was in Damascus, but the new authorities arrested him. Many other officials from the Assad regime are currently residing in Lebanon, according to the New York Times. Thousands of lower-ranking officers who fled to Russia after the regime's fall are now in Russian camps, living on state aid. Some of these camps are in remote locations like Siberia. It seems a significant number of former regime figures are indeed in Moscow. In Russia in general, the true number of those who came after the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime, including military officers and their entourage, has been determined.